everyone. I hope you are doing well. Happy Halloween. We made it. So I'm going to apologize first and foremost. I had no idea that I did not have the noise canceling on my microphone on. Sorry about that, guys. So you guys still heard all the shit around me that you guys don't usually hear because I use the noise canceling microphone. There's always a lot of noise going around. I don't get to record in peace. So I'm sorry about that. I had no idea. My dumb ass didn't even notice until I was editing them, and I'm like, I don't have time to go back and film these again. So, sorry. I'm gonna try to do better. I'm gonna start testing it before I actually do videos. This time I know it's working. So, anyways, I do want to bring up that I actually had somebody comment on one of my older videos. It was the story of Geraldine. If you know what I'm talking about, if you don't, I'll link that video down below. You can watch. You don't have to watch it, but at least then you'll know what the hell I'm talking about. But commented on my video and gave me, information about something else that had horrifically happened here in Rockford to somebody else. So I'm currently doing research for that because I really want to talk about that story just because I had no idea. But it happened before I was born. So it kind of makes sense why I don't know about it. So anyways, let's get into this Halloween video. So I was completely bummed when I did my Candyman video early because that was the one I was originally going to do for Halloween. I had it on my list and everything. I was like, it's great. And then I did it early because I stopped reading ahead. So anyways, so I did a little bit of research and I figured, it's tis the season, right? For spookiness. So I found on the Occult Museum, I'll link that down below too. They had 13 true ghost stories to get you in the mood for Halloween. And I was like, oh, it's wonderful. I was looking up something that happened on Halloween, and a lot of it was stuff I've already covered. So I've already covered pretty much all of the horrificness that happened on Halloween. Well, considering people getting killed and murdered and that nature. Didn't find anything else. It was kind of sad. But anyways, let's get into this because I'm super excited. Turn down the lights and make yourself comfortable for some Halloween-inspired ghostly tales of all things that go bump in the night. I'm excited. Okay, Halloween is a time of celebration and superstition, with roots that date back thousands of years to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. Samhain? I should have looked that up. Whatever. October 31st marked the end of summer and the beginning of winter. No, it doesn't. Who fucking came up with that? That's not how that works. So, anyways, you skipped fall. Okay. Just saying. Just completely went from summer to winter. I mean, that's kind of how the season's been running, anyways. You don't get that other season. You either get one or the other, one extreme or the other around here. The Celts believe that on this night, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead become blurred, and that the ghosts of our dearly departed could return to Earth to walk the earth once more. While many of us believe this to be just superstition, the following true ghost stories may make you think twice. Perhaps the veil between our world and the next is thinner than you might imagine, especially on All Hallows Eve. I love All Hallows Eve, it's my favorite. First story. Come on in. 1 year over Halloween, I was visiting my cousins. We were all around the same age. Like any normal teenagers, we were bored and with nothing to do, we decided to go trick or treating. My cousins lived in this really old area. All the houses were well over 100 years old. The entire place looked like something out of a horrible movie. We knocked on a few doors. Everything was going good until my cousin dared me to knock on the house at the end of the street. As I knocked on the door, it slowly opened, creaking noises and everything. It was really dark inside with just a little light coming from one of the rooms further back in the house. I remember thinking these people had gone all out for Halloween because this place was so creepy. I called out, but there was just silence, beginning to feel really creeped out. I was just about to leave when I heard a woman's voice say, "Come on in." Not I. There was no way I was going in there, so I just waited, and then I heard her say again, "Come on in." And then something like, "We're here." I'm really scared now. I'm just standing there frozen because there was something about that voice and it was just so dark in there. Then suddenly, I hear a loud bang and what sounds like heavy footsteps rushing towards me from the back of the house, and that's when I ran. My cousins were laughing at me, but when I told them about the creepy voice telling me to go inside, they stopped. Turns out the house had been abandoned for years and was known to be haunted. Thanks, Jimmy Big Beans. That was from Jimmy Big Beans. So, anyways, number 2. It's a secret. My daughter had this imaginary friend called Polly when she was much younger. I would regularly hear her talking in her room as though there was someone else in it. I wasn't overly bothered by it. I thought it was a normal thing for kids to do. If I was setting the table, she would ask me to set a place for Polly. If she lost a toy, then Polly had lost it. As I said, normal stuff. I never gave it much thought until one night when I was putting my daughter to bed. I asked her what Polly looked like. "He looks like Grandpa, only he's a lot older and with no hair and black eyes." And then said, "But I'm not supposed to tell you. It's a secret." I freaked out. She slept in my bed that night, and I'll be honest, I kept the light on all night. Polly lasted a whole year before my daughter gradually stopped talking about her, him, or it. I never asked her about it again, as I remembered someone telling me once, the more you talk about something like that, the more power you give it. Seems to have worked. The story was by Anonymous. Anonymous? I can't talk. You guys already know. Sorry. Number 3, the cornfield. Cornfields are fun, man. You can play hide and fucking seek in there. I'm excited. An old friend of the family used to drive school buses across the country to their soon-to-be new schools. The protocol called for them not to stop for anything, not even to help. He was driving in the Midwest one night and came across a long stretch of road with a huge cornfield on one side and an empty field on the other. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he came across a wrecked car with the lights still on and people scattered on the ground. He slowed down to help, but remembered he couldn't, so he kept going. Fuck that shit, dude. You call for help. You don't just go about your shit, dude. I don't care. That's the rule. You're gonna fire me today because I'm fucking getting help for some of these people. Plus, I'm in the medical field, so I've been trained in CPR and all that shit. And BLS. I have my BLS. That's basic life saving, just in case you guys don't know. Okay? Learned something new today. Maybe you did know. Now you do, for sure. So, anyways, I'm stopping. I don't know about you guys, but I'm stopping. As he was calling it, he looked back to find the people standing in the middle of the road staring at the bus. What people? I thought they were all over the ground. Upon further inspection, others started to emerge from the corn in a creepy fashion while also staring at him. Oh, fuck that, dude. I was 6 when he told me this. I still hate corn a little. And this story was by The Grantster. That was a good story. Creepy. All right, number 4. When I was a kid back in my old house, I had assumed my sister and I were playing in the attic. Sister suggested I hung out the window for whatever reason. A few seconds later, my dad, outside, sees me hanging almost fully out of a third-story window on my own, starts yelling and running, etc. After I get pulled back inside, my mom and sister insist that I was alone in the attic for the last hour, that my sister was with my mom the whole time, and my dad had passed my sister on the ground level before heading back inside. I assume at least one of them's lying to me about something, certainly more plausible than a ghost tried to get me to kill myself. Still. The story was Brain Scratch. Brain_scratch. Number 5, Aunt Charlotte. When I was 8, my family moved into an old colonial that was built in 1810. My father still lives there. Until I was 17, every before I fell asleep. Oh, okay. Let's try that again. Until I was 17, every night before I fell asleep, I would feel pressure next to me as if someone sat down on the bed next to me. I've had that happen to me before. Fucking creepy as hell. I was married, and I thought my ex-husband was coming home from work. Felt felt the bed go down, and I looked, and there was nobody there. And it wasn't the dog, it wasn't a cat, there was nothing there. It's fucking creepy. So I've had that happen to me. This would always be accompanied with a feeling of increased pressure in the air. Although I knew this probably didn't happen to anyone, I didn't think about it much until I got a cat. He was present for my 12th birthday. Each night he would sack out on the bed near my feet. That doesn't make sense. I'm really having a hard time reading this story because they said every before I fell asleep. So I had to put in every night. So I'm having a problem here, guys. Every night he would bolt from a dead sleep and glare at something in the doorway before hightailing it out of there. A few moments later, the pressure would return. Again, while this was a weird thing to happen, I didn't really question it. Maybe the cat was just neurotic. I didn't talk about this nightly occurrence to anyone. However, I did refer this feeling, presence, what have you, as Charlotte. I don't know why. Oh, it's still going. That's a long story. So one day in the summer when I was 13, an elderly man and his middle-aged daughter pull up to our house and explain that the father lived in the house with his aunt while he was a boy and that he raised his family there for a few years. There was one comma in that whole sentence. That was such a run-on sentence. Sorry. Can't help it. They had been visiting family in the neighborhood and they wondered if they could take a tour for old time's sake. My mom said sure. She, my sister, and I led them around the house and they recalled different memories. Afterward, my mom asked them if they remembered strange occurrences or stories about the house. Like ghosts? The old man asked and chuckled. His daughter became very quiet and said firmly, "It's not funny, Dad." The man explained that everyone who slept in one bedroom felt a little unsettled, and his daughter interrupted to say that she always felt as if someone sat on the edge of the bed and she tried to go to sleep. Her father said they used to joke that it was just his aunt looking out for them. His Aunt Charlotte. Oh, he didn't know why he was calling it Charlotte. Oh, it's fucking creepy. This confirmed what I had never admitted to myself. I had a freaking ghost that basically tucked me in at night for the previous 5 years. Oh, that's creepy. Still going to bed was never freaky or scary. I just tried to ignore the feeling when it came. Until one night when I was 16. My parents had been going through a weird patch in their marriage. I was feeling depressed, and in general, it was a weird year. I went to bed. After about 20 minutes, the cat took his typical bolting exit from the bed, and I felt the familiar pressure on my side. Then I felt a hand brush through my hair. Then I ran straight downstairs to the living room where my mom was dozing. She woke up when I burst into the room, saw my face, and asked what was wrong. I told her I had a nightmare and left it at that. I spent a week sleeping in the guest room. When I got the nerve to go back to my room, I was nearly asleep when I realized I didn't feel the pressure next to me. I did feel pressure in the air. I rolled on my back and saw the figure of a woman in her 60s, wearing a house dress, her hair pulled back in a bun, with her arms folded. She was looking right at me, very concerned. When I found my voice, she disappeared. I said out loud, "I don't care if you stay, but I can never, ever, ever see you again." I never did. However, a few years later, after my parents divorced and my dad moved in his new girlfriend and her 4-year-old son, I wasn't really surprised when she told me her little boy said a lady named Charlotte told him stories at night. The story was by Anonymous. Number 6. Something in the bed. My friend's mom had some spooky experiences in a house they used to live in. One day she was laying in bed after her husband left for work. She didn't work at the time, so she slept a little later than he did before getting up to do some stuff. I'm having a hard time reading this story too. She heard someone walking around in the house and figured he hadn't just left yet. A few minutes later, she felt the sheets behind her rise as if someone was getting into bed with her. No one was there. She felt breath on her neck as whatever it was laid down next to her. She bolted out of the house and waited for her husband to come home before returning to the house. Oh, I can't pronounce this one. The story was by Viogenet. Number 7, Blue-Faced Mom. We bought a 50s bungalow a few years ago. The original owner had passed, and we were the first people to live there since. My daughter's bedroom was on the far side of the house from mine and was always colder than the rest of the house. We chalked it up to poor insulation in that room. Every night, I would hear her talking to someone. Just thought it was baby sleep babbling. She was about 2 at the time. Then she started talking to someone in the daytime, too. I asked her about it. She told me it was the blue-faced mommy. The mommy wanted to play peekaboo with her all the time and wouldn't leave her alone. She said she would wake her up in the night to play peekaboo. It freaked the shit out of me. I talked about it with one of the older ladies in the neighborhood who knew the original family. Apparently, their oldest daughter had suffocated herself in the house after giving birth to a stillborn child. Not sure how she suffocated herself. The neighbor didn't have a lot of details. It happened in the early 70s. I am certain that she was the blue-faced mommy my daughter was talking about. A friend told me she had read the best way to deal with lingering spirits was to politely ask them to leave. So one night, when my girl was woken up, I went to her room and politely said, "Please, ma'am, your family has moved away. We need you to go now." And after that, nothing. I still get chills thinking about it. This one is by Thanks. Number 8, the demon gun. My dad had bought a pistol from a friend of his, a real weird guy, for my mom to use at the house for home protection. He was gone all the time, and we had started to have some people fucking around the house at night, so she accepted it even though she doesn't really like guns. For some reason, she kept it under the bed. It's the best spot. Unless you have kids, you want to keep it in a safe next to the bed, like we do. After he brought the gun home, she said she started having really weird dreams, and it always felt like someone was in her room at night staring at her. After a while, she said she started getting woken up by what felt like someone kicking the mattress from underneath the bed. This really wigged her out because there was no one in the room. It freaked her out so much she started sleeping on the couch. One day, her best friend came over and they started talking about this issue. Her friend suggested that it was a demon in her room. These are super religious people here, mind you. They both go into the room to investigate the cause of the disturbance, as they called it. My mom mentioned something about the gun, and her friend told her that was probably the culprit. It had a demon attached to it, and she needed to get rid of it. So she picked it up and took it to the garage. Now I have a hard time believing this part because they both swear to this day that it happened. She put the gun in a box in the garage and locked the deadbolt on the door, as we normally do. As soon as the bolt latched, she and her friend claimed that all hell broke loose in the garage. They claimed that it sounded like something was going berserk, knocking stuff over and kicking at the door trying to open it. They both huddled in the living room praying like crazy for 20 minutes until the commotion died down. The next day, my dad comes home and asks what had happened to the garage because everything was knocked over. She tells him he bought a demon gun and made him immediately get rid of it. That's great. This one was by T-Rex Anarchy. Good story. Number 9, the old man on the stairs. So when I was a kid, I would race up to the top of the stairs as fast as I could like it was some sort of silly game. Well, I must have been 5 or 6 at the time, I'm not sure, but I know I was very little. Somewhere along the way, a voice at the top of the stairs started to whisper to me. It would make bets with me, such as, "I bet you a penny you can't make it to the top of the stairs." I don't really think there was a certain amount of time or anything. As I said, I was very little, so I probably didn't have any counting abilities anyway. Ha! I recall just sitting at the top of the stairs having conversations with this voice. About the bedding, of course. Eventually, the voice, it was like a whisper of a man's voice, not my own voice in my head, started to bet me my life. Instead of pennies, it'd say, I bet you your life you can't make it up to the stairs, blah, blah. As I got older, it stopped. I never really thought about it at all. I never mentioned it to anyone until one night I was sleeping over at my brother's place. I was about 18, he was 22, and we were talking about spooky stories. Out of nowhere, I brought up the voice at the top of the stairs, and my brother got all quiet and weird. Before I even mentioned the betting aspect, he said, "Did it make bets with you?" We both looked at each other, horrified. It certainly was freaky after the fact. This story was by Snarky Chew. Number 10, The Window. Oh, I'm adding letters. The Widow. My mom remarried about 2 years ago. My dad died when I was 12, so she had been widowed for over 10 years. This new relationship was very whirlwind with them meeting, dating, and getting married within 3 months. No, I did that when I got married. Don't do that. That's stupid. You don't know nothing about that person. Oh, definitely don't know their bad habits. I haven't even opened that shit out yet. I didn't know much about the guy, but my mom was very happy, so I just tried to be supportive. She moved into his house in upstate Virginia and invited my fiance and me to spend a weekend in her new home getting to know her new husband. My mom's new home was pretty isolated. It sat on a few hundred acres of lovely rolling hills and was very picturesque. I was nervous about getting to know this guy, but really trying to make the most of it. Over the course of our first day there, though, I felt more and more uneasy. I didn't think it was weird, just silly. My mom's new husband was being very welcoming and friendly. We were being made to feel very at home, yet I still couldn't shake this oppressive feeling. I finally chalked it up to me being more upset about my mom getting remarried than I was willing to admit to myself. We spent most of the day wandering around outside since I felt worse when indoors. That night, my fiance and can't talk. That night, my fiance and I showered together. When I turned my back to him, he stopped talking mid sentence and asked, "What did you do to your back?" "Well, nothing. Why?" "You have a large bruise." I hopped out to try and see it in the mirror. I got back in and we finished showering in silence. Then it was off to bed. The one window in our room looked over a pitch black empty field, but I couldn't sleep until I hung something over the window. I felt sure that otherwise someone would watch us through the window. The next morning I had a complete meltdown. I woke up and just couldn't stop crying. I told my fiance we had to leave. He tried to calm me down by telling me all the things I had been telling myself. My feelings of anxiety were just a result of seeing my mom with someone. The longer I spent with them, the easier it would become. But I just had to leave. It was only Saturday morning and we were supposed to stay until Monday, but I felt completely hysterical. I knew I was on the verge of a panic attack, and my only concrete thought was I had to stop crying long enough to make our excuses and get the hell out. We did. As soon as we were on the road, I felt like a weight had been lifted. I was even feeling embarrassed for my behavior, hoping I hadn't insulted my mom's husband by leaving early. Then my fiance broke the silence. "That bruise on your back, did you get a good look at it?" I had. It looked like someone had touched the middle of my back with fingers spread wide with their hand at a tilt. I want to make completely clear no one had touched my back the previous day, especially hard enough to bruise me. Cut to 3 weeks later, my mom comes to visit me. The entire time she's hounding me to come stay with her again. After finally trying to change the subject for the 5th time, I level with her. Before I've even finished telling the story, her face is as white as a sheet. She tells me she has been feeling the same way in the house. She hates it. She wants them to move as soon as possible, and the real kicker? Her new husband's previous wife shot and killed herself right outside in the same field our room window overlooked. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. That story was by the then I realized that story was by, then I realized. There's actually more stories, but we're at 25 minutes, guys, and I don't think we're gonna do any more. I think that's it. I think this is what we're gonna do for Halloween. I think that was pretty good. There's a couple of twisted stories there. I don't know if they're true or not. I mean, these are people's stories. Who knows? It is on the Occult Museum, so I'm assuming they might be real. But I don't know. They're pretty good though. Freaked me out a little bit, especially that fucking one. Oh, no, not the last one. I don't remember which one it was. The I don't even remember. But anyways, that's enough. If you guys liked my video, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And as always, I hope you guys have a wonderful, fabulous day. And thanks for watching. Bye.